Hey folks, welcome to our session on how AI is helping remote-first Scrum teams deliver complex software releases without a delivery manager. We do events like this once every few weeks. It used to be monthly. We're doing them more often now. And it's really our way of having our members and our VIP guests engage directly with some of the experts who contribute to and collaborate with us here at the Digital Project Manager. For those who don't know me, I'm Galen. I'm the co-founder of the Digital Project Manager, and I will be your host for today. Today's session is all about how remote-first development teams are using AI to tighten up the way they deliver impact through their digital products. Maybe we can just start by meeting our panelists. I'm going to pick on Julia first. So we've got Julia Ryzhkova. Julia is the product director at Railsware. She's got 15 years of experience leading product, people, and process across SaaS and services. She's known for scaling products from MVP to millions in ARR, aligning customer value with company strategy, and mentoring teams to deliver with clarity and purpose. And Julia, I wanted to get into this because you just wrapped up like this 3-day business simulation game at the Krakow School of Business where you're doing your MBA, and you ran full-on businesses from scratch, including marketing plans, production flow, sales ops, finance, reporting, leasing, procurement, partnerships, and even mergers. You were the CEO for your team. I'm just wondering if you could share, I don't know, a surprising takeaway from those 3 days.
I would say that everything is pretty much in simulation, close to the real world. Like you need to negotiate with your ex-friends, I would say, during the simulation. They were not a friends, like and each million counts. So like about discounts with tax offices to actually pay your taxes, not at the end of the year, but the beginning of the year. So everything is about some creative way of how things are doing. And we didn't use AI because like everything was simulated as a board, unfortunately. However, that's probably the most interesting thing I came up with.
I like what you said in the green room as well, where you're like, this is all really interesting, but the way we work at Railsware is so different that it almost doesn't apply. We were blowing people's minds.
Yeah, it was in another. It was about time management because usual time management in corporate environment can be applied in Railsware because of the maturity of the team, I would say, that we have. It's We have a flat structure. I mentioned it during our previous podcast, but of
Mhm.
course there are many people who are new here. So we don't have linear managers. I have 14 people in my team, which is mind blowing. Like usual, you know that like Drucker said that it should be from 5 to 7, and that's it. So I have 14 people in my team that I lead, and still I manage to work 40 hours per week, something like 1 hour for operations per day, then 3 hours for meetings, and everything else is dedicated to strategy, culture, those kind of things that usually according to theory you can delegate and managers actually should focus on, but we never have time to do that. So that's exactly how it works in Railsware. And at the same time, during MBA courses, of course, they suggest some approaches and practices that are more common for huge corporate companies, like schedule 7-minute meeting with your team for the next week so that they feel the pressure, like how your time is precious. And it's totally like I can't use it in Railsware. That was
I definitely,
so
I,
interesting. And pretty much during all of the courses, it was like that because I tried to understand like how to use this in the in Railsware. And the lecturers also learned a lot from me. How else? Because they only heard about Spotify, for example, model about flat structure, but they didn't talk to real people who actually use
mm,
it in the real world.
I
So it
love it.
was like beneficial collaboration, I would say.
I want to get into all of that as we go because it's like super interesting. I think it's germane to like why I wanted to talk to you guys. I thought maybe I'd also introduce Sergey. So Sergiy Korolov, he's the co-CEO at Railsware. He's the co-founder of Mailtrap, Coupler, and Titan Apps. He is a product-first tech entrepreneur. He spent almost 2 decades turning ideas into high-growth SaaS tools. He's passionate about scaling with clarity, empowering teams, and just building damn good products. So Sergey, happy to have you here. I understand that you're in the middle of just like a few pretty massive product launches, including a big upcoming release of automation features in Mailtrap, an email delivery platform. What's your best tip for handling the stress of orchestrating such high stakes, high complexity projects like this?
Well, it was to say that Railsware is a product studio. It means that we manage a lot of products in parallel. There is a consultancy wing, but there is also a joint venture wing, and there is a own products wing. And so in total, I don't know, we have about 20 products running in parallel, which it's a complicated thing, but it gives us a possibility to experiment in different projects, different contexts of different sizes and different kind of industries. It gives insights in one product and then allows you to apply those insights into the other products. How to orchestrate all that? It's of course the very mature team, as Julia mentioned already. So you cannot run such a big team without relying on people who lead certain directions. Julia, for instance, she is running a very, very important client for us, company Tradezilla. She is a product director there, and she is managing the context is very, very well. And of course, she's heavily contributing to product management guild. So in our company, we organize every work through the guilds and squads. So the guilds is professionals, right? So you have a guild of product managers, designers, analytics, engineers. And then you have squads or teams, which are kind of a vertical integration of different roles, such as let's say Mailtrap or Coupler products, which cover all the needed roles. So it's more than 40 people in every team, which represent, and there are representatives from different guilds. And so the knowledge we get from one product distributes through the guild to the other products. So some learnings that you do in Mailtrap product management, you find some interesting insight and you share it with your colleagues in product management channels or some demo sessions. And we spread this information and experiment with such and kind of share the insights of the other experiments in the other products. So that's so, it's like flat structure, but it's not like a flat structure. It's actually a graph, kind of a lot of different nodes that are interact with each other with their own rules. And those rules are very flexible. If we find that some cooperation between certain team members is efficient when there are like team of 5, it might not be already efficient when there is a team of 8. And so you need to rebuild the structure and adopt it to the new team size. Yeah, so, but I can go really deeply in that. So you
We'll
should
get into
stop me
that as well.
because, yeah, you
No, we're
should
good.
stop
We're
me at
good.
some point.
This is the interesting thing, right? Like I love that language about like the squads and the guilds. You have this sort of knowledge and nimbleness to have 20 concurrent projects and like these teams that are actually quite large, just like moving quickly, doing things concurrently. I want to get into it. But first, maybe let me just tee this up. Because I've made this kind of clickbaity, right? I'm like, oh, look at all these teams
Yeah,
doing
let's
these
make
things
it.
without a project manager. But honestly, for me, it's about this. It's about the fact that, you know what? Like, not every team effort that has a deadline has a project manager. In fact, in the world of SaaS, product development, and Scrum-based delivery, it's actually probably more common for there to not be a project manager. So sorry to my audience of project managers. But meanwhile, AI technology has been allowing development teams to do even more by helping them stay organized, by streamlining communications, and quite frankly, by reducing the need for things like meetings and some of the overhead of project management. So, if some of this overhead is getting supported by AI, is maybe the globally distributed self-managing team about to get like a second heyday as the pinnacle of digital collaboration? Or is it that the bar is already being raised for the level of complexity that might require like additional delivery leadership support? Or is it maybe both? So that's kind of what I wanted to explore today. Like Julia, I had you on the podcast. Like, God, it was probably a few years back. And I was just floored by the way your team works because it is flat structure, it's nimble, and it's very self-managing, not to mention it's distributed across time zones. So yes, I did make this title kind of clickbaity, but at Railsware, like this team, the team behind Calendly, the team behind Coupler.io, the team behind Mailtrap and Titan Apps, you guys have always been a remote first, multi-time zone team delivering software without a project manager. And I just thought I'd start out by asking, like, what is it about your team culture that makes this like distributed configuration a benefit rather than a disadvantage? Like, what are some of the things that your team does that makes the work truly self-managing and truly remote first?
Before I answer, as you mentioned, I'm currently working on my MBA dissertation and I did the research. So I was also wondering, like, what is special in Railsware that actually make it work? Actually, it happens that we are not unique, and the dissertation is dedicated to how in hybrid, remote, and on-site environments, companies are doing, IT companies are working on with innovations. We didn't find, by the way, any like big fully on-site company right now. It was one of the things that we discovered during our dissertation, because we simply couldn't reach anyone who works like fully on-site unless this is a real small local IT company, and we were interested in mid-size and large corporates. So currently everyone are either fully remote or hybrid setup. And for fully remote teams, things that are common, and also we use it in Railsware, is exactly what I mentioned, the maturity of the team. And it starts from the culture in the core team that were at the beginning as a foundation of the future company. And then hiring processes and onboarding processes are shaped in a way to keep this, to share this culture. For example, I asked people during interviews, okay, but how do people know that they can propose some changes? How do they know that they can raise questions, like challenge the status quo? And they say they just do because it's a part of the culture. We don't tell it. We don't have policy. You can raise questions. It's just that we hire a mature team, and during onboarding, they see that that's actually how it works everywhere. And then they know that they can actually do it. Some of the things, like specifically, I know that our audience also is interested in specific things and tools and approaches that they can use. And that was one of the part of the questionnaire I also did during the dissertation. Okay, but what exactly do you do? So some of the things are common. We use Slack and we have public channels. And it means that there are almost no direct communications between peer-to-peer. Everything is gathered around the Slack channels. So each guild has a channel, each squad has a channel. Sometimes it's like QA and squad channels. And then you raise questions not in like direct messages, you raise question in a channel. And pretty much, regardless of who is currently online, someone can pick it up. So you receive questions much faster. And also, of course, it's all of the knowledge that actually is gathering in one place. And you can then use some of the participants of my research. They used the Slack messages that they collected during the years. They linked the language model to that one, and then they built internal knowledge base. So currently it's not like list of structured policies, it's just a chat where you can ask, okay, how to submit vacation. I am like I am in this squad, and then like how to submit vacation, and you receive an answer from the chat, which is also like a perfect solution from my perspective, because like when you read the policies and you need to go through the questionnaire, it's like everyone hates that at the beginning of their journey in any company, and this thing totally eliminates that one. Also, maturity of the team allows to shape to do more work dedicated to your role. Meaning, for example, if you're a product manager, then you can do some research, some play what if scenarios, A/B testing. So think about the strategy of the product rather than actually managing the teams. And this is also common across all successful fully remote companies that I interviewed during my research. We also like document everything. Everything is either in Google Doc, Confluence, Figma. Some Bridges session is there. Some wiki is there, and the AI with ability to actually generate automatically, let's say, notes based on the meetings, those kind of tools, it helps a lot also with this part. So it was always like that, but currently AI tools simplified this part of work, because usually we didn't put notes, like meeting minutes was never existed on the Railsware, but we put notes directly during the meeting. It's much easier, like everyone has access to some shared documents. While I'm talking, someone is putting notes about what I'm talking about. When someone else starts to talk, then I put notes for that person. And it worked like that. And now AI is doing that, which is kind of also...
Which is a great thing. Yeah, so I just wanted to add here, quickly take the lead in this. So originally, the roots of Railsware were remote friendly. So it wasn't like remote first, it was remote friendly. We had office in Kiev, and then we had a lot of folks who liked Ruby on Rails. They were spread it across the countries. So that was the foundation, and all the processes started from there. Big like majority of the company were engineers, like I don't know, 35 engineers out of 40 people were engineers. So we had really,
Wow.
really thin layer. Yeah, and other five, two of them were engineers as well. They were just managing things. So like it's mostly engineers company, but it was back then. And so engineers love to automate things and the environments around themselves. So we did that way as well. And kind of then the company was growing, new positions started to appear, and we applied a lot of mechanics that we use in engineering world to the other positions. For instance, pair work. So pair work in engineering world is something very kind of common, but in the other spheres, it's not that common. And we started to practice it with product management, product design, operations, recruitment, and other things. And it appeared that it boosts teams a lot. So again, talking about the remote friendly cooperation. So you go to the call and you sit together, you work on something. It makes you productive. It makes your colleague productive. You share knowledge quickly, you motivate each other. Kind of you will not open, I don't know, kind of the news feed and scroll it when you sit together in pair. I mean, that's a real thing, right? Kind of what
Hmm.
happened when the COVID times, when people I'm not saying that this is the real reason why we started, but that's a some additional benefits that we start to see that there are when you work in pairs.
I love that.
Yeah, and when COVID started, for us, it was absolutely no change in the way we work. For the other companies, it was a drama, of course, kind of even very, very famous companies, IT companies, for them, it was like no option to go and work from home. So some of the smaller things that we use, as Yulia mentioned, so when we collaborate on something, like let's say we're starting new feature, big feature, or we start a new product, there is a bridges concept framework that we use, collaborating on the virtual whiteboards,
Hmm.
defining subject, risks, issues, benefits, solution variations, kind of making researches and collect all this information on this whiteboard. So whiteboard is the crucial part of our collaborative process. So if we talk about software development, there are smaller things like stand-up notes, which team members usually write beforehand. So it's very important. It sounds like a simple practice, but it's very efficient. It allows you to speed up the stand up very much, because like you do not see like stay and think, all right, what have I done yesterday? What do I plan for today? So you take your time beforehand, you spend it, you make it structured, so it's much easier for you to read it than I did, So you make it really sharp and clean, and also it gives a possibility for the others to see like how productive are you, right? Even retrospectively. So of course there are cases like we are super productive. I would say our team is very productive, self-sufficient, but still there are cases like some, I don't know, burnouts happening. Of course, kind of our organization is more than 200 people, so
Hmm.
different things can happen, of course. And kind of you can retrospectively go through the documentation, go through the kind of stand-up notes, like what was the progress. So it's easy to kind of, so it's actually a log, right, of
Hmm.
what has been done. So, and of course, all those Jira projects and other things, and AI, which you already mentioned before.
First of all, I mean, I love all that. I love the sort of engineering DNA because some of it like really comes together, like you mentioned about the pair programming and the documentation. Yulia, I just love that you're doing your dissertation on that. I think it's a hugely good point that like I don't know if we talk about that a lot. The fact that like there aren't that many organizations that are just co-located now. Like hybrid and remote are the two sort of dominant options right now. And then as you're saying that, I'm like my like I don't know, non-technical project manager brain is going like, oh, but like not having one-to-one conversations. Like what like can we still say the same things we'd say to one another? But then I'm like, oh, but of course, like it's not like all of my conversations that I have one-on-one where I think I'm, doing a good job of politicking for my projects are locked. Like they're locked away, they're private. They're not gonna be to the benefit of my team. And it's not going to be to the benefit of any AI tool. Like if you're training models on some of this, like that's all locked away. And now I'm just going through my head going like, oh my gosh, how many conversations, how much work do I do that is locked away that I can never actually benefit from, either in a collaborative context or in an AI context? And yeah, anyways, it gave me pause. I'm just curious. You mentioned about the culture and the hiring. Like, does anyone come in and go, wow, this is really weird, like that we don't have one-to-one DMs, that like I only spend, like less than an hour in meetings a day instead of, being on the phone all the time? Is that kind of like, is it ever a turn off?
I was
So
that
I
person.
just, Julia, sorry, before I start. So it is kind of not forbidden, but it's highly recommended to kind of write everything in channels.
Fair.
Again, because like when you leave the company, what happens with the information that has been shared in those channels? What if some other team members have their kind of vision on what should be said there? So kind of it's very important. Like small thing again, but very, very efficient. Don't write personal messages in Slack. Forget about it. Like public channels or private channels. So make a group of two, three people, make it private. But write everything in channels. Go ahead,
Got it.
Yula. Sorry.
Not prohibited. Get it.
Answering your question, I was that kind of person. So when I joined Railsware and I shared this experience, I was super insecure, I would say, because like, usually when you're a manager and you're a good manager, you feel like you are needed because you join and everything just stops working when you leave. So it's kind of, you're crucial, a part of the system. And like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you became that part of the system. And then, okay, you can take 1 week vacation, probably with your phone, probably with enabled emails.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, like you understand that if you will be gone, you can be replaced, but it will be hard. And in also, it's like you don't feel that because you join the mature team and they actually do their stuff without you. And then you understand that you can take, like, I had a vacation for 1 month during this winter and they delivered a huge kind of things like nothing. I mean, for 1 month, 14 people were working without any management at all, and they managed to deliver about 10 plus releases. So kind of
Wow.
outstanding things. And then you start to ask yourself, okay, what is my value then for the company? Why they need me? And actually, what you do as a manager, you just make processes and select things so that they will be working on to deliver more value. So they can actually do whatever, they can execute everything, but your value is actually makes them work on the proper things. So it's not about, the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So
Mhm.
that's kind of your value as a manager. And that was something that I realized only on the second or third months during my trial with Railsware, because everything was so uncommon, I would say, that you need to
Mhm.
actually switch your mindset to be a part of this culture.
I think it's so like it's so thematically relevant, right? Because yes, there's that manager ethos. You're like, if I'm not in meetings all the time and telling people what to do, then, either things will fall apart, or if things don't fall apart, then I'm probably not adding value. But then there's that question of, well, how can I be adding value? Like I'm still here. What can I do? And I think the AI question is that for a lot of folks, right? It's like, okay, well, seems like I can step back and like AI is gonna, create my meeting notes. It's gonna like create my project briefs. It's like writing user stories. It's tasking the team. It's like checking in. It's running stand up. Like, am I out of a job? Or I guess the other question is like, well, how can I add value? And I think, I don't know, like, are you finding it similar in this, like, as some of your teams are adopting AI technology into their processes, are you finding that it's like, okay, yeah, like the value I'm adding is sort of giving a framework for some of these processes to happen, where we use AI, where we're collaborating, the ways that we're collaborating, how it's changing our ways of working? Or is it also that moment where you're like, I don't know if I'm, maybe I'm becoming less needed all of a sudden.
Can I briefly drop a metaphor here in this conversation? So I see that product managers at the moment, they're very similar to managers in soccer teams or like any other football teams. So is it possible the team will play a game without a coach? Absolutely. Kind of they will go and play, they may win something, even like top team may win something, they may lose something, but they also may lose with kind of coach as well, right? And so there is this thin layer of contribution that is kind of possible to ignore for a short period of time. Like Julia said that she went for a month to vacation and everything went well. But if she would go for a kind of 6 months, then the processes would start to work differently, like 3 months is probably. So coach is the role that is very kind of common, I would say, or similar to what product managers, project managers do. They make this team play together, see inefficiencies, fix them, support them, find any additional kind of resource to cover certain areas that are not covered by the other team members. So that's the main job, I would say.
I really like that metaphor. Like I like the sort of like the time aspect of it too. Like yeah, you can play a couple games without your coach, but the coach is kind of like this like overarching like
You
storyteller,
will not
narrator for the team.
win the season, right? Without coach, you will not win. But a couple of games you can win.
That's fair. That's interesting. I'm wondering if I can like move into like both of your experiences, like rolling out AI at Railsware. You already had this culture that was, it started remote friendly. It's got engineering DNA. You're mostly remote first. I mean, I would define it as that in terms of the ways that you work. And then you start adding AI to the mix. Sergey, to your point, there's probably a lot of folks who are, technical, who may or may not have been embracing AI. And then, like you said, there's like other cross-functional teams, there's the marketing teams, there's, the business side of things. How have you found it to be to roll out sort of AI formally, like governance and policies within that culture? Like, has it been jarring? Did it kind of start without you? Yeah, how is it playing out like in the big picture?
So I will start briefly high level, and then Julia can tell more because she was one of those who actively pushed AI in engineering aspect in her team specifically. Right. So on again, let's think about Railsware as the graph, and then this graph has inputs. Every node has inputs, so all those variants are nodes. So they start to get inputs from the internet that AI is popular and so on. So they generated perception how AI can kind of improve their lives and how AI can put some threats on their position as well, because this aspect is very important, is psychological. There are a bunch of articles that you can find on the internet, pretty interesting researches. So speaking about those threats, first of all, is that a lot of those influencers talk about that AI will take your job, will take your job, will take your job, and kind of when you listen to that all the time, you kind of a bit stressed out, and you start to think, like naturally that maybe we shouldn't, maybe I can, postpone this introduction of AI into the company, and then my job lasts longer. But so far, I don't think. Well, of course, I don't. I can predict future and how fast the AGI will appear. But so far, AI we consider as the very powerful tool that gives you a possibility to deliver better and more. And kind of a few years ago, we started with the content creation, with the marketing aspects. And you know what? We have hired more content writers since ChatGPT appeared on the market, rather than let some content writers go. Kind of, we just started to generate more content, more quality, better quality content. So yeah, our content writers, they're responsible for creating story and kind of collecting interesting information around the company, and then they generate very good, interesting, and useful articles. So yeah, and that's content writing that started. With of course, we started to use all those instruments that Julia mentioned already. Note takers. We had this culture taking notes during the code call, but then you cannot take them as great as AI can do right now, right? So there are all the aspects, so there are summaries, and that's a really fantastic thing. So you may skip some conversation and then just read the brief summary and understand if you need to go deeper. So it reduces the time.
Or even ask AI
Uh,
to read the notes and then provide you only summary of it, which I usually do.
while driving a car, right? So
Yes.
that's a very fantastic thing. And yeah, the biggest change was, of course, with the engineering part. So for quite some time, there was a hype around vibe coding, right? But 2 years ago, let's say, even a year ago, the quality of the code was kind of so-so. Kind of our engineers started to experiment with AI tools like Copilot and later Cursor uh, pretty fast when it appeared in the market. But of course, when you do experiment and you get some bad results, then it doesn't mean that tomorrow you will go and test again. So there were like experiments, then kind of overall conversation in our Slack channels that, we tried, it doesn't give so much kind of benefits, so nothing great. Then there were different concerns regarding the policies. So sometimes ago, there was no clear policy if AI will educate their models based on your code base or it will not. But later, kind of those issues has been addressed, and the kind of when you purchase certain plans in Cursor or Copilot, then they guarantee you that they do not educate their language models on your code base. Yeah, it stays kind of locally. Yeah, so but then again, different parts, different teams, different individuals start to experiment with AI. There was some progress, but in this specific case, there was a need in push from the high level, like from C-level, to make it happen and kind of start to apply this AI usage across the teams. Again, because there was some skepsis, historical skepsis, some probably like resistance or not acceptance that, it again, when you constantly hear that I love that the YouTube video that has the name "I've built Calendly in 15 minutes," and then you have a Calendly team which is working for 8 years or more than 8 years already on this product, and kind of you see such titles, and it's a bit scary. But that's at the moment, it's still a hype. Kind of, you will not build Calendly in 15 minutes. That's a bullshit. So anyway. We started to search for like one or two advocates within a team, in every team, and then work with them closely, asking them to collect cases, and then make presentation to the rest of the team, showing the best case scenarios, how to use, where the contribution of AI is very good. And I have a list of those contributions. We can talk about them later, I guess. Julia, maybe you can add here.
Actually, I was thinking about maybe our audience would be more interested into how we leverage AI specifically, let's say in areas according to PM book, because it's like more relative, I would say, about the project management. So of course, the easiest one is the communication, because like any questions that you can get from customer, which usually took you ages to craft a proper feedback, like some comparison, like why we should do that, why we don't do that. some why we're scheduled to release and all of those kind of things is currently done like that, based on just, so I enable voice in ChatGPT, then I tell about the problem, and then I receive a perfectly crafted Slack message, Confluence article about some details and those kind of things. And it actually takes minutes when I'm driving or going to the office, rather than when I sit like in, in 2-3 hours, you are shaping a like wonderful result. So communication, but I would say that this is probably obvious and everyone are doing already that in their day-to-day basis. From this, let's say, integration management, it's like currently that's probably the biggest challenge we currently have. So in order to integrate all of the things, it's still on us, it's still on the teams themselves. So far, we have this vision, but we are currently only working on executing it to set up AI in a way that each team in the process reuses the previous artifacts and they all are managed within the same MCP. However, it's only the vision right now. Like, for example, we have the kickoff session, then we do the bridges, then we make a screenshot of this brainstorming session. And we have, let's say, some prototype in like so far without any styles, because all of the application that actually generates prototypes within hours, they can generate it only once. You can change it because everything is broken. However, like the first one you get within hours, and this is something you can already talk about as a corridor testing and things like that. Then you do Figma, but then Figma is being used for producing requirements. I currently do that, so I make that just a screenshot. I have a separate project in ChatGPT, one project for making data analysis, and it has as a files of the project my structure of the database, let's say, so that I can easily like query and ask it to prepare some queries for ad hoc analysis, and the separate project for creating user stories and those kind of things, where also all of the context is already applied. And then I just make a screenshot and I say, okay, this is what we want to change, give me user story. And it gives user story. And of course, QAs do the same to get their test cases and acceptance criteria. That's exactly like that. And like what we want to achieve, so that it will not be manually, like I open Figma, make a screenshot, put it to chat, then I got those things, I put it to Jira. So currently more and more MCP agents are being released from different tools, and we want to integrate all of them. So the vision is that it will work all together, but we are so far not there yet, let's say. So integration.
Yeah, and we're going to release MCP in Coupler very soon, so you will be able to query your CRM, your marketing tools, your, I don't know, ATS tools and financial tools with the natural language kind of cooperate with your data nicely.
It's a really good tie. Like someone earlier was saying, I'm being asked to do AI, but like none of it's playing well together. And we had a session a few weeks back about like, yeah, I feel like I'm just a copy and paster right now, pasting from one AI tool to another. But I really like I really like that that use of like projects, for example, right? To train like a project in ChatGPT to serve a purpose that already has the context, that already kind of understands how to do the job, to kind of like just shorten that time. And gosh, relatable, that whole like blank page syndrome where like, hey, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to spend 3 or 4 hours putting this, document together versus dictating in your car. And if I'm understanding correctly, dictating in your car and getting it into Slack and Confluence like in the same go. I should have titled this "Work from Car."
But if you have this, I always admired like in Iron Man those like Jarvis, and then kinda we are almost there here with our current Jarvis. It's like I talk to AI a lot because it's much faster than just putting your prompts. So usually what I do, I ask verbally, I give a context, and then I ask verbally to prepare a prompt for it. And then it writes a prompt for me, and then I start a new chat and I use that prompt to actually properly prompt it. And for example, it took me, I don't know, I had also on my dissertation, I needed to prepare a presentation, and it took about 15 minutes for me because like I talked to ChatGPT, it created a prompt for Gamma Up, and then Gamma Up generated perfectly perfectly structured presentation and everything. The only downside was that the HR manager was a girl with a bird. It's still like
Well,
that in the AI, but it was fixed
diversity,
like it was.
diversity, like
Yeah, so it's kind of, and that was the only fix that I did. So 15 minutes, and you actually have a it was even including some infographics. Like I use AI a lot. However, I always recheck the results, and that's the main thing. So what I noticed, we also use AI in hiring process, of course. But the good thing is that we have a specifically defined criteria, let's say for the test task, so that when we evaluate it with AI, it actually can give some feedback. It's not just is it good or not. We have a criteria, and then it works. And also, of course, as a part of our hire process, we have pair interview. Sergey mentioned that we have a lot of pair work. That is why we do pair session together with candidate, two person from our side and candidate. We do some things like data analysis, let's say, or some researchers, those kind of things. And they tend to use AI, and we're allowed to do that because it's our nowadays. However, we always ask, it doesn't help people usually. If they are not like on a good level, they can't leverage this tool. So they ask questions, okay, like here's a data set, what insights can you give me? And it gives not a good insight, some of the ideas, and then I say, can you check it like on your own, just check that it is true or not. Or for example, Gemini, it created like sales dynamic, and I'm looking, so I know this data, it shouldn't look like that. And then I understood that it sorted months alphabetically: April, March, May, April, December, sorry, March, May, and those kind. And I'm like, I'm looking at that, and I noticed it, candidate did not. And it kind of, so this is only the tool, so you still need to use your brain to check the result, and that is why I'm not concerned that I will be losing my value. Let's say I can just do more things. I can write those SQL queries on my own, but it's much faster for me to say I need to understand like how many do we have more people who sign up from this channel, like who use this feature in the recent month compared to the previous one, and then I have SQL. I just execute it. I can write it on my own, but then why do I need to do it?
I love that it's in the interview process, this sort of pair session to kind of evaluate team members, prospective team members' ability to evaluate AI output, right? It becomes, can you see what's missing, what's wrong, what the gaps are, not can you write a SQL query? Like that's
We don't force it. It's just that we say you can use whatever you want. So let's imagine your world, you need to do a decision, and they say, can you use ChatGPT? Go ahead. But we also put in efforts to shape our things that we put in our hiring process in a way that you can't get a good enough result with AI. We tried. We know that you need to, so like it's the question that contains the answer. So if you prompt it in a way that you know what you're doing, then you can get the result. But if you will just ask dumb questions, it will not give you anything, and we know about that.
That's super interesting. I love that. I wanted to move to audience questions shortly here. I did want to come back to one thing, Sergey, that you had said, because I saw it in the chat. There's a lot of folks here who are like, I'm being asked to use AI. No one's telling me how. My business owners are trying to replace me with agents. And something that you and I talked about, Sergey, about like you're quite a technical person. You have a technical background. You mentioned like YouTube videos, like how we built Calendly in 15 minutes, and you said something about like yeah, that's kind of like that's hype. Um, but there's probably a whole bunch of like non-technical business leaders who are thinking this. They're trying to create an advantage for their business, and they're trying to like filter out all the noise. But sometimes it seems pretty feasible to be like, okay, well, yeah, I can just, get 300 agents and, like have my staff and double my profit. And apparently I can do it in 15 minutes. Like, what advice do you have for people looking at this? Like, how can they evaluate if they're not really from a technical background? How can they evaluate what is sort of like the BS versus what is actually something they should be taking
I don't know. I
advantage of and
guess
learning?
there must be some community, kind of like open source. Usually engineers do open source when they try to resolve some problem, right? They need I don't know, operational system. They create Linux, and like it's kind of a joke, but not a joke. So you need some foundation. So anyone can have at least some arguments to non-technical founders, co-founders who blindly believe that AI already has some general AI skills, so generative AI. So it's not generative yet, kind of. And I mean, so far, what they say is that LLM will not bring you to AGI technology, so there must be a different architecture there. But we see this a lot actually. So it's so easy to get into that trap. You watch those videos with that YouTube full of that really you can do this and this. You can, I don't know, build a tool which will replace 10 content writers and and you will generate content with this tool. And for a certain period of time, it worked even with the content, but then Google banned those websites fully generated with AI content, and that's it. Kind of that strategy is over. But no one tells you about this later on. They will not deliver you a message that, hey, it fucked up. So kind of it worked, but it doesn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they just show you the kind of positive side that, oh, you can do this and this and this. And I believe that's a big problem, honestly, that there are some illusions of co-founders and founders because someone, CEO of AI company, draw a picture of the future, which is not a current it is not a current state of AI that will give you such benefits, but they draw you, the future, how things will look like. Like Elon drives, like sell you that they're gonna be a self-driving car, and he sells this for many years, kind of, but still, it's not that kind of that autonomous. I mean, it is autonomous, of course, but when it will make a mistake, it will be enough one mistake a year that you will not survive it. So, but my point here that CEOs of big companies who run AI, they sell you the future, which is not the current, and the other non-technical CEOs, they buy it and try to squeeze from their teams kind of the results that the CEO of those companies, and it's messy. But this always happens when new technology appear. Kind of, there is some. It's a really breaking change, right? So it changes the industry. It for sure changes the industry and the way how communities live and work and cooperate. But yeah, sometimes there is too much hype, yeah, it's very good, by the way, that Apple released this white paper, right, analyzing the real capabilities of AI. And at least it's some argument that you can right now put on the table in front of someone who already believe in some AGI capabilities of current AI.
Yeah, I love that. Like the education of where things are actually at versus where they should be in the future. And this notion that like you probably do need a human there to kind of navigate things that change because you're right. No one's posting a YouTube video that says, "Remember that thing I said that you could replace, 15 staff with one agent? Yeah, that's changed now." Like no one's making
Yeah,
that
my
video.
business has bankrupt, so
Yeah. Oops. I like that. We will try and link that white paper that you mentioned, Sergey, in there. I wanted to move into audience questions. We've got about 8 minutes left. So just before we get into Q&A, and just before folks start leaving to their next meeting, I just want to say thank you for joining here today. If you enjoy what you are experiencing here today, we've got a few more events coming up in June. Love to see you there. First one is about how everyone is a PM now, maybe. We're going to touch on some core PM skills. We're going to talk about the PMP and whether it's relevant to folks who don't see themselves as project managers. Michael's going to throw the link to RSVP in the chat. And then the second session we're going to dive into is how you can use your PM skills to negotiate your next raise. So we're going to be talking salary. We're going to be talking about some of the trends that we uncovered in our recent DPM salary report. And it's going to be it's a lot of fun, highly relevant. Michael's going to post the link to that one in the chat as well. Last thing, We love feedback. We want to be able to improve our product, which is these events. So if you could just take a moment to take our survey. Michael's going to post that link as well. Be raw, be unfiltered, be honest. This is the way that we improve how we do things here at the Digital Project Manager. All right, let's get to questions. I wanted to dive into this one. I know Julia, you've been answering questions in the chat, so I'll try not to cover over those as well. But
That's Julia's multitasking.
right, I was
This
gonna
is
say
this is her superpower.
she could have
Yeah.
done this in the car, just dictating. Yeah.
Yeah, she's probably driving in the car. It's it's
Yeah.
a background, like green
She's
Ah,
actually
background.
an
it's
agent.
AI
Yeah.
generated face. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's my avatar.
I love it. I think this is quite relevant. I'm going to jump on this question from Jamie. The question is how does relying on AI impact your reputation as a reliable source? So if you use AI a lot, could you fall into the trap of actually not using your brain? So actually, really the opposite of what you're saying, where it's okay, actually. And Jamie, tell me if I've got this right, but the sort of idea that you're less valuable, your perceived value actually becomes less because you're using AI in the workplace. And instead of a culture of saying, okay, well that's great, let's find a way to level you up, it actually starts negatively impacting your reputation as, oh, that person who just turns to AI all the time and turns off their brain.
There was a research about that one. They had two groups. The three actually. One is controlled one. It was forbidden to use AI at all. They asked them to learn some Python or something like that, and then those who were allowed to use it to ask questions to actually learn, they performed much better. Those who were allowed to actually ask questions and then copy paste the result, they didn't learn a thing. And then the third one, which is control one, was in the middle of those two. So if you use AI to actually learn things, for example, I am working on, as Sergiy mentioned, currently on TradeZilla, and it has a lot of context, trading context. It's a really hard domain knowledge. So currently I'm learning trading, and I actually use a lot of and also QA team engineers, they all need to understand how trading works. We all are backtesting, we all are trading a bit in order to understand what we are working with. It's for traders by traders. However, still we use AI a lot because it has all of those domain knowledge. And I ask things, okay, from your perspective, for example, what is the most type of instrument people are trading on Bybit exchange? Because I don't know that. And AI does. So I ask questions to learn more. And that is why I believe that I would be in that first group, the one that will actually be, that is how you need to use it. So I'm not afraid about the reputation because it's only the tool and it makes me more effective. However, I'm still responsible for making me, efficient. However, it's my responsibility to make me effective so that I will ask a proper question.
I love that example. Talk about value. I'm going to learn about trading so I can make a better product for traders. Amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And quick example here. So it's not the first time when industries receive some powerful tool that changes completely the productivity. So I want to remind you that the engineers, I don't know, 70 years ago, they had those huge machines that took the whole, the whole floor, and they used paper cards to program them, and then they had terminals. But then assembler appeared, and it was one way to communicate with machines. But then kind of higher level programming languages like Turbo Pascal appeared, and they made them much more productive. But then rapid development frameworks appeared like Delphi, and one engineer was able to build a tool that before 20 engineers was not able to build within the such period of time. And kind of, if you will look around, kind of there is a constant progress, this open source community that generates frameworks like Ruby on Rails, which has millions of lines of codes that already prepared for you, and you can generate a blog without AI. Within 5 minutes, you can set it up, right? So it was even before AI, you were able to build a lot of nice things with the minimal effort. But then you still need to be a professional to understand how to tweak it further, how to move it further. So same thing here and across the other professional professions that you receive you have a powerful tool, like, but you need to know how to use it, and in the end, it's your responsibility how you treat the results, the outcome of the AI. So
Yeah, it's a hugely good
output.
point. It's just another new tool in some way,
So
shape, or
far,
form.
yeah, of course. When AGI appear, then
Yeah,
we are fucked.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Then we have the session again and say,
That's why I
"Oops."
learned trading.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
No, but there won't be any need to like to learn anything trading because it will trade themselves better than any people, any human.
I mean, in the
That's
meantime, and
actually one of
actually,
the arguments like we can use in communications with customers, right? If they say like why you can't replace your engineer with AI, you say, okay, you're doing, let's say, pharmacy, why we can't replace pharmacists? Why we can replace doctors? So it's kind of it's just not there yet, let's say.
mhm.
However, we can use it.
I
I
wanted,
see like what elements of PM can be replaced by AI. I would
yeah.
say that none of them can be actually currently fully replaced by AI, but I mentioned some of them that can be actually improved, the performance of which we can leverage it, like risk management, for example, those kind of standard risk management for the project, and actually you are thinking about which risks specifically are for this project. So AI generates that pretty fast and amazing, I would say, just based on some incoming documents and the preamble of your project scope
And
document.
and one more thing, which is very important. So project management is about people, managing people, not only tasks, right, in Jira. And so far, like, I don't believe that any person will execute the order of ChatGPT in like if it will say to do something for him. So kind of
Yeah,
this
people
role
management.
is not so far, it's far from being possible to replace kind of managing people. So they are going to be managed by people. When they are going to be managed by robots, then we have I don't know, Terminator thing.
Yeah, that was also one of the questions, right? How AI is deal with people, it does not. And actually, the biggest challenge is about insecurity of the people. So when we lead the team and we enable AI, so Sergey mentioned I was pushing like we need to leverage AI because it can help us, it can improve performance. However, one of the things that I dealt with is exactly those things like, am I being replaced by AI? And then, no, guys, it's kind of, I wouldn't do it to myself, and I use it a lot. So let's just use it as a tool.
That's great, actually. You know what? Honestly, maybe a really good place to leave it, right? And in terms of the fact that we are integrating technology with people who are collaborating together, people are still important. We can use AI to learn. We can use AI to be more efficient, work from our cars. There is integrations that still need to be, thought through. So we're not copying and pasting between tools and feel like that's our value. There's an opportunity for us to elevate our value, to do more to help our people, to get people more comfortable with how we progress and how we do our jobs even better. So maybe I will just leave it there. I know I've taken us a minute overtime, but I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in the audience who stuck around. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind taking a few seconds to fill out our feedback survey, we've posted it in the chat at some point. I would love to know what you thought of today's session. And of course, big thank you to Yulia and Sergey. Thanks so much for volunteering your time to share what you're doing. I think you're doing amazing things at Railsware. I've been fanboying about you for years. I think I learned a lot today. And Julia, we'll have to have you back to like read your dissertation to us. Sounds super interesting.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for having us and share the feedback with us as well. So it's very important for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again. Have a great
Thank
rest of your
you.
week.
Bye bye.